Hello, everybody. So, welcome to our today's lecture. And I'm not going to speak for a very long time, as we have some fantastic materials that will be much more interesting. But I would like to say a few words about Queen Elizabeth I Tudor, who is, well, the main character of ours today meeting, our today's lecture. And she is undoubtedly one of the most fascinating and famous queens of the European history. And there are some very good reasons for it, though we must say that her personal history was very tragical and very, very sad. But it probably this was what made her so strong, so fascinating, and changed her into a very successful politician uh, who, who led England to its golden era. So we are talking about the 16th century, so-called Elizabethan period, so the time that gave us Shakespeare, and the Elizabethan theatre was incredibly influential and incredibly fascinating. And this whole time is very interesting. And of course, we know that Elizabeth I was the one who defeated the Spanish Armada. But there are so many aspects that are very interesting that, well, I hope that you find something for yourself in the materials that you'll find in the links below in the description. Uh, Let me just mention that Elizabeth was the daughter of Henry VIII, so the infamous king who had 6 wives, and he had 2 of them killed actually. One of them was mother of Queen Elizabeth I, so Anne Boleyn. And I'm mentioning it for a few reasons, because as some of you may know, Elizabeth the third, the first was called the Virgin Queen because she never got married, which led to many complications in the English history. But we may see it as a result of a trauma, because she knew what a man could do to a woman. And we need to remember that 16th century wasn't a time when women had, well, many rights, and it was pretty uncommon that a woman was the ruler of the country, an independent ruler. So Elizabeth, who was very similar to her father, didn't want anyone to interfere uh, with her being a monarch. And there are some speculations that the tragical fate of her mother, so Anne Boleyn, who was killed by her father, she was beheaded, executed, led to Elizabeth not really wanting to marry anyone. It was also the problem of lack of candidates that would be suitable for her. And but some people also, some scientists also claim that one of the reasons was that as a teenage girl she was attacked, and she was victim to some brutal assault by men, of course. So she wasn't really interested in being dependent on any man. So that's pretty interesting. And the quote that is in the title of our lecture is comes from the speech, the war speech before the battle, when our queen went to her people and she tried to motivate them. And she says that she has a body of a feeble and weak woman, but she has the stomach and the heart of the king and the King of England. So, and she really was this warrior woman, this very fierce politician. And she was also known for her very difficult character. She was impulsive. She could be really aggressive. She was very smart, but very hard to live with. And I guess it was coming also from the sense that she cannot trust anyone. And one of the materials that I'm sending you is truly fascinating because it's telling the story of Elizabeth I and Mary, Queen of Scots, who was her cousin. And well, it may seem complicated how they were related, but Henry VIII had a sister, and Mary, Queen of Scots, was the granddaughter of this sister. So yes, so that's the relation. And Mary really wanted to be Elizabeth's heir, so she really wanted to inherit the throne from her, as Elizabeth wasn't married. And this material is truly fascinating because the two queens actually never met, but they were exchanging letters for many years. And finally, sorry for the spoiler, but it's history, so I think it doesn't count. Finally, Mary, who was a Catholic, she was married 3 times and she had 1 son. And she was a complete opposite of Elizabeth. She was 8 years younger, so it's not that much. And when Mary came to Scotland from France, she was 18, and she was already a widow. And Elizabeth was 26. And it was a very uncommon situation that there were 2 young queens on the throne of the neighboring countries that were always struggling, and they had some problems with each other. And at this time, it was especially difficult. And we need to remember about all those tensions between Catholics and Protestants. So Elizabeth was a Protestant queen, and Catholics weren't treated well, to put it very mildly, in England at the time, because they were, well, it's a complex issue actually, but remember that Henry VIII, so the father of our Queen Elizabeth, was the one who left the Catholic Church, and to Mary Anne Boleyn. So the Catholics weren't really keen on Elizabeth, also because in the eyes of the Catholic part of Europe, she wasn't really real successor, because her father divorced Catherine of Aragon, a Spanish princess, to get married to Anne Boleyn. So as if Catholics had some doubts if Elizabeth was wasn't born out of a wedlock. So if she was a rightful, let's say, right? So if she could be the rightful heir, and Mary was Catholic, so it was very complicated. It is pretty well explained in all the materials that I'm sending to you. Well, finally, Elizabeth imprisoned Mary for 18 years, so awfully long time. And finally, Mary decided to take part in a plot against Elizabeth, which was supposed to be conducted by Catholics. And well, she agreed to try to kill Elizabeth and to get the throne. And when Elizabeth found out, well, poor Mary was beheaded, so she was killed. She had her head cut off. So that's this such story, but all those differences are very interesting, and they're really nicely explained in the material that I'm sending. You can find it below in the description. And what else? I think that you also really enjoyed the documentary on Elizabeth I with Lucy Worsley. She is a great historian and she's really lovely, and you'll see a lot of beautiful costumes. And well, yes, I think it will be really, really nice. I also add a few parts from the films about Elizabeth I. There are so many of them, but I really loved the one with Kate Blanchett. So she's a wonderful, wonderful Elizabeth I. I think she did a great job playing this role. Yes, so I hope it's interesting. I hope you learn something new and you'll take a look at this Virgin Queen. Well, from a different perspective, I guess. So thank you so much for your attention. Please watch the materials because they are really great this time. So have fun.